Alright guys, Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The drama continues here so far in Black Ops 6. Over the last few days, the predominant weapons in the game have no doubt been the ARs, the Model L, the XM4 over the last few days. Shotzzy, Simp among others, even using the AR over the SMG. But big SMG has bounced back last night. Over the last couple of days, a big GA starting to come into effect. The Model L is gone. Now the XM4 has followed suit. What are the pros going to do next? Big controversy over this because many players, certainly former players, suggesting the way the pros are still handling this is absolutely absurd, but are they on the right track to actually make the game more playable and balanced for SMG players? Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Plenty as ever to get into today. This is HyDra with the PP buys in, and look, watching HyDra's POV is always a good time, but it's got to be said, the SMGs have not been especially prevalent over the last couple of days. The Model L was the go-to choice in the early days, and look, as we mentioned the other day, there are certainly other powerful ARs that are available to be used in the game as it stands. But yeah, some of the stuff that HyDra's been doing has been pretty absurd regardless. We did have some scrims going down yesterday. So Renkor's team, I will say it's kind of interesting to me that Renkor, when they signed him to the Miami Heretics, I think there was an expectation that he was going to be a starting player in the league, right? That they were going to make a change to last year's Miami Heretics team because, look, they did pretty well compared to expectations towards the end of the year, but as we full well know, that team of Vickle, Metals, Lucky, and of course Real at the end of the year had a decent champs, top 6 in the ends. They were reasonably competitive at the end of the day, but they went to the World Cup and were literally the worst team there. So I think everyone expected, at least when Renkor was brought in, I expected maybe Super to be brought in as well, that they would at least, you know, make a change to their starting team. But as it stands, as the season is starting to get underway, it seems like Renkor is going to be in effectively the substitute position, and it's going to be the same 4 starting next year on Heretics. Semi-confusing to me. I feel like Renkor will get his shot in the starting team, but for now it's Renkor, Standy, Major Maniac, and Johnny. That's the team of 4. Some scrims yesterday against the new Gentle Mates roster that haven't yet confirmed anything yet. They played Protocol, Red Cards, Skyline, and Rewinds, and well, it was 3-1 to Gentlemate across these. Likely they might give Renkor a go in scrims for the Miami team in due course, we'll see. This is an interesting one though, I've got to say, and I totally get Kingdom's perspective in the replies as well, but to be fair, this season, we know that lots of the salaries have gone down. There was an expectation that maybe that would mean more streams start to be turned on by the players, and certainly the likes of HyDra. I think, well, HyDra's always known that he could turn on the stream and make good money, but he now knows that for absolutely sure, and we see other pro players in the early parts of the game, they could, if they wanted, turn on the streams and, you know, stream their practice to the public. Certainly on day 5 of the game, it doesn't seem like a big deal. Now, I get it if it's further down the line, we're talking towards Major 1 or, you know, in a couple of months. But certainly when the game's just launched, and I know that it can be distracting, right? You're trying to learn the game as much as you can, but there is an argument you just, you know, turn off the chat, don't even look at the chat, and just stream your POV, because one of the disadvantages I see in streaming practice, certainly towards the end of the year, is that you might play slightly differently, as in you might play for the win just because people are watching slightly more than you play to learn or whatever, and even if that's subconscious, I think that can be a factor. But when the game has just come out, it's probably not so relevant. You know, everything you do, every day you get on, you're going to learn something new about the game. So, yeah, a little bit surprising. But let's dive into some of the drama, right? So, this XM4 class Scrappy was using, it's rather good. Lots of the ARs are good in this game, and I mentioned this basically day 1. As soon as people started talking about the Model L being particularly strong, it seemed reasonably inevitable they would get rid of the Model L and, well, look to get something else in instead. That weapon was the XM4, and a similar thing happens, to be fair, back in Black Ops Cold War. The XM4 was in the game. You can even argue that this XM4 could be stronger than the one back in Cold War, but whatever you want to say, I think it was only a matter of time until questions were asked, especially when you start to see Simp, you start to see Shotzzy using ARs on the map as it stands, and I think the JoeDeceives is great. Like, I really like the SMGs, but you know, it is true and fair that the ARs have generally been dominating the game so far. Now, I think there is another culprit for that, and in my opinion, that is the gunfighter, right? Or the fact that you can have 8 attachments on your gun, which makes it just absurd. I remember remember back in Black Ops 3, just to do it again, when you'd put your M8A1 on and you could have Reflect, or M8A7 of course as it was in that game, apologies to Black Ops 3 and the developers, M8A1 was for Black Ops 2, but you know what I'm saying, right? You'd put Reflex on, red dot basically, you'd put Stock on, you'd put Long Barrel on, and that'd be like, wow, I've got 3 attachments, oh my god, like that's a lot of attachments, and then you could put on Gunfighter 1, Gunfighter 2, and then have 4, 5, even 6 attachments on your gun. I think you could certainly get up to 5, I think plus then the red dots. And, you know, people would put on extended mags or whatever because there wasn't that much else to put on. This game, there's so many attachments that you can put on the weapon that when you get to 8 attachments, first of all, that is just outrageous for my brain. But also, the gun is a complete laser. So that is something the pros probably need to address. But right now and yesterday, they were trying to contemplate how do we make this meta better for everyone. And Ben basically said that, yeah, yesterday's plan was to go through and try and find a way to have an SMG AR meta which is relatively balanced, and that resulted relatively shortly afterwards in the XM4 getting banned. I mean, here's a clip from Kremp on Vault, of course, and he beams aBeZy, and it's not like the SMG should win that fight. I mean, I think that's the point. Yes, this gun's killing fast, and I will say the 8 attachments is maybe the most ludicrous thing about this whole situation. But, look, this is a Crim 6 POV here in 2024, and the XM4 does kill instantly. But as I say, lots of these gunfights, it's not like I'm expecting an SMG to win them. I mean, even this gunfight in a second, it's just the way that it kills so fast. I mean, obviously he should win this fight. He's pre-aimed the guy jumping up. But still, the perspective was maybe this fight that aBeZy got absolutely incinerated there. And it is true that in most situations right now, the AR is the way to go, especially because you can slap loads of attachments on it and basically make it the god gun. So shortly afterwards, the XM4 was officially banned by the pros. Just to clarify, a GA, a gentleman's agreement, not something which is in the official CDL rule set yet. It may never be reflected, but the pros have decided the game would play better without the XM4.
Updates sponsored by the flank. Anyway, so where everybody's at currently is obviously, if you watched last night and you've watched any of this game, you see that there is not a lot of sub usage on the map. And so the pros obviously want to try and kind of lock in the map set, but they want to figure out the meta first. And the Model L obviously is busted. That got GA'd. The problem with the XM4 is just no one wants to see an M4 meta. Also, it's also really good and is like basically 7 on the map. So the goal today for the pros is to try a bunch of different combination, probably including like the aims, for example, as you see that Encourage got it in his hand, and see if this can find a nice meta where like a sub is viable. Yeah, GPR, like I think the goal today is just to find a sub AR combo that in this current game state works. I know y'all don't like restrictive GAs. I don't like restrictive GAs, but I also don't think we want to watch a game where everybody's just running the same gun.
Dude, this gun's ripping, bro.
This gun is insane. Bro, Abe probably like didn't even have time to.
Wait, this gun is like literally ripping. I might have to GA gunfighter.
No, yeah, we need to GA the 8 attachments for sure.
Wait, Paco, why don't you run 8 attachments on your sub, bro?
Doesn't change the thing.
What the fuck did you do on my sub?
I can't turn them up.
If I had 12 attachments, I would get shit on with it. Oh,
bro, wait, Kremp is actually world starring them.
So the Model L is gone, the XM4 is now gone, we're barely a week into the game and already we have lots of bans starting to come through. So this caused a lot of drama, and I will say the reaction to this was somewhat different to what we tend to usually see. There's usually the reaction when the pros GA stuff is, I can't believe these guys are so soft, you know, just play the game as it is, they're getting rid of stuff for no good reason. And I think the problem is, and I think Octane does hit the nail on the head here really, is that they're going to do it again. It's not like this has happened every year, like the auto, for example, that Octane won the world championship with. That was a damn good AR back in Vanguard, obviously. But I think it is probably true that the players will go through a number of AR combinations. They'll realize, okay, this is good, this is very good, this might need to go. And then as time progresses, you start to realize that SMGs start to become more prevalent. And this is naturally how it goes every single year, and this is Clayster's point we'll see in a second. But I do think the reaction from the community this year has been slightly different. As I say, when you get players like Shotzzy using an AR because it's just better than the SMG, I think that is a problem. So the pros are trying to find a way to resolve it. Now, the way this whole thing is handled is still terrible. There's no doubt about that. But maybe they're onto something this year. Clayster, though, agrees with Octane maybe, kind of disagrees with the sentiment of certainly the pro players and says, the same thing as always, get to the worst usable AR before all the subs figure out routes, nades, teamwork, and then by mid-game, every sub dominates. 8 XM4s, yeah, no surprise, nobody knows the game. So, and I think, to be honest, people are saying, oh, Clay, you know, salty ARs and all this. I think Clay has a point. Everyone kind of knows this. When you look at COD history, the start of the game tends to be more AR dominated. As time goes on, as Clay says, routes, nades, teamwork, stuff like this, the SMGs start to become more effective. At the start of the game, when nobody knows the game, the ARs that just kill you faster, and when you're set up on a heady, they will do the damage. And Clay's thoughts are this is going to backfire down the line when the SMGs become too strong, and the issue is, once something has been GA'd, it never necessarily gets un-GA'd. Clay might have a point. In 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months' time, the SMGs might be much stronger. Of course, they could be balance changes too, because they nerfed the subs, I think, a bit from the beta, so they are weaker than they were before, and certainly weaker than the ARs currently are. But down the line, maybe the XM4 is viable again, with the way the SMGs are in a few months. But the issue is, once they ban something, they very rarely unban it. And yeah, Slasher, of course, he's part of big AR, is what they call it, right? You've got like big farmer, right? So people say you've got big SMG and big AR, kind of implying like all the top dogs on those categories pushing for their perspective. Slasher says though, top earner TJ, who of course is on his team, I saw him win last night running a sub, just saying. So yeah, maybe there's something in that. And then Nameless, I think the big drama again about this is just the way that it's handled, really. Like whether the pros are correct or not correct to do this, it's just like the way it's done is so ridiculous. Again, we're only a few days in and already 2 things have been banned. Probably more to come as well. Gunfighter may follow, may need to follow. But look, as Nameless says, maybe we try other things before we just ban guns. There are 7 ARs. We have 2 removed already before a map set has even arrived. Like, that's just egregious, he says. And even before teams have started scrimming. Right now, players are stacking their ARs, running fire mods like recoil, springs, extended mags, etc. And that's a good point. Like, we've never really played with extended mags before, or like recoil, springs, or anything kind of like that. Maybe we remove those attachments first, or maybe we remove Gunfighter first. I think this is the problem, like, we've seen at the data that the ARs are all pretty balanced in this game. You get rid of the XM4, the AMEs, or the AIMs, whatever, is now pretty good. And if you stack that with 8 attachments, it's probably going to be nearly as good as the Model L and the XM4, so it'll get banned as well. Like, so I think that's the problem for my side, is that the pros got to realize it's not necessarily about the ARs, it's the way they're being used. And, you know, that's Nameless's POV here. Now, is some of these changes and what the pros are trying to achieve, I think that's the thing for me. The pros are genuinely trying to achieve something which is a positive for the game. The way they go about it is not always the best by any means as far as I'm concerned. But HyDra shows why. I mean, like, look at this. He's stacked this gun up here. What even does he have? The Bug Smasher. Yeah, this is the XM4. So he's got an XM4 on with 100 bullets in the mag somehow. He's put like the big extended mags on it. And look at this. I mean, this is what Call of Duty is nowadays. This gun doesn't move. The XM4 is not meant to be a laser beam. It's meant to be a weapon that you actually have to, you know, control some recoil with because it shoots a bit faster. But, I mean, look at this. HyDra, he's not really controlling the recoil here. He's just laser beaming these guys all the way, like, so long range. And, okay, there's a little bit of vertical, horizontal recoil. I mean, a bit of horizontal, maybe, but vertical, it basically doesn't exist. So, you know, what are we playing here? Like, genuinely, what are we playing? And I think that is the problem for me, is that the pros may have good intentions with what they ban, but the way that they go about it, and also just the way that the league doesn't seem to be involved or care to be involved, and the pros just go in a group chat and decide what they're going to do. That's the stuff to me that's pretty outrageous. So, and even kind of Hitch and Dashy are implying here that, yeah, the snipers are probably already gone as well. So, you know, another one bites the dust maybe on that sense. And yeah, it looks like probably the AIMS 85, basically the Krig from Cold War, is now going to be the gun. And hopefully, if it turns out that with 8 attachments on, this gun is too good, which it probably will be, then the pros are going to have to say, all right, maybe it's Gunfighter that needs to go. Maybe we're going to start getting rid of some of these attachments to make the game more viable. So very much interested in your thoughts as ever in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.